Listeners, we know you love Cricket et al., the podcast, and what's not to love, but you can also love us online and read Cricket et al., the Substack experience. Isn't that right, Pete?
That's right. It's a podcast, a website.
It's a way of life. cricketetal.com for all your cricket reading needs. It's Gideon Haig over here.
And Peter Lawler over here.
And welcome to Cricket et al., your independent cricket podcast. Still recovering after an utterly absorbing, transfixing game of cricket last night in which Australia pulled off the highest chase in Women's World Cup history, overhauling India's 330 with an over remaining. The first time, in fact, they've chased more than 300 successfully in an ODI. Just to summarise, in case you missed it, after Alyssa Healy sent India in, they were 1 for 192 with 20 overs to go. Then Annabel Sutherland's bag of change-up tricks confounded the lower middle order. India ended up leaving balls out there. Alyssa and Phoebe Litchfield, sparkling beginning, brought the run rate down to within bounds, and Alyssa had pressed on to her sixth ODI 100, 142 and 107 balls. Just great to watch. I'm starting to think the typical Alyssa Healy boundary strike always seems to end up equidistantly between fielders. It's almost a bit uncanny, like right in the middle of them. There was a few alarms at the end, but Beth Moody got out to a great catch. Annabel Sutherland got out to a Jaffa, but Ash Gardner hit a nerveless 45. Ellyse Perry came back from cramps, and she smashed the last ball for a straight six to ice it. Peter Lawler, what have I left out?
It was
lots.
There's so much going on, isn't there? There really is. I mean, it is the highest chase in women's ODIs and in World Cups, obviously. I think at one point there, Healy was looking a little bit like Nasser Hussain in Brisbane in 02-03, wasn't she? What were they?
1 for
155. That's actually when I nodded off and I thought, geez, I cannot. And then when they got to 330, I thought Australia were no chance of chasing this one down. But that's a significant chase, and one that's going to do their confidence no end, because if you can chase that down, you can believe that you can do anything. And it's great to see the way they've been sharing responsibility around the team. But Gideon, neither you nor I were there.
Indeed. And that's why we're joined now by four-time World Cup winner Lisa Sthelakar. Lisa, you're there, flitting from City to City.
I'm not actually there. I'm in Colombo. So.
Okay, well, you're there'er than we are.
Correct. The time difference was good for me, so I didn't nod off. And it was captivating.
You certainly didn't turn off. No, you know better. You know better than we do.
So you're over there with the tour group, Lisa. How do you end up in the wrong country for this one?
Oh, the tour group doesn't come in until the back end of the tournament. So I'm here for WCA meetings.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Right.
Yep. Anyway, how good a game was that, Lisa?
Yeah, it was a good game, and it was a crucial game for both sides. Obviously, India coming off the loss against South Africa, Australia having one of their games rained out here in Colombo against Sri Lanka, which meant, they didn't get the 2 points that they would have been eyeing off. So it's important when you get on the park that you keep that winning momentum going. And we've seen historically these two teams go at each other, close encounters, and even the previous ODI series prior to this tournament, some mammoth runs, chase, batters, Smriti Mandana peeling off a couple of hundreds, and she looked like she was going to get her third 100, but I think that's now 5 50s in a row against the Australian side, so that's a new record for her.
Yep.
But yeah, it was great cricket, a great advertisement for the women's game, to be fair.
Mandana, of course, brought up her 5,000th run in that, and she's brought up 1,000 runs in a year.
First one to get.
Yeah, I remember when you were the first to get 100 wickets and 1,000 runs. I think that took a little longer than a year, at least.
Hey, she didn't get 100 ODI wickets, okay? There's a difference.
Yeah, very big difference. She's not in any halls of fame. You're in too. But that's a significant. Her and her opening partner is a pretty good-looking opening pair, aren't they? Pradika, she got her first 50 there. She looks like a great bat too. They are really They've got muscles now, this Indian side, haven't they?
Yeah, they've got batting depth. The last couple of games, Richa Ghosh was coming in at number 8 and putting the icing on the cake. I was glad to see that she came up to that number 6 position based on where the game was at and where they wanted to take it. And that's probably where Annabel Sutherland kind of injected herself in the game. And they lost, 6 for 36 at the back end. And can you believe we're saying that they probably left runs out on the board, out in the middle with 330. They were certainly on target to get 360, 370, and that's probably what enabled Australia to go, okay, we've pegged them back. Here's our opportunity. And Phoebe Litchfield and Alyssa Healy, as you said, Gideon kind of got ahead, I think 82 runs within the first 10 overs, which really set up the game and that middle phase, which was very important for the Australians.
That's Sutherland's first 5. She's got quite a skill set now, hasn't she? That slow ball out the back of the hand. I think one of the Substacks readers said it was a bit like Ian Harvey.
Yes.
Yeah. Good call.
He was the original, wasn't he, with that?
Yeah.
Him and maybe Steve Waugh as well.
Yeah.
They were around, weren't they? A few have tried them over the years. And they don't always last that long, do they? The opposition clocks onto them. But she's a great-looking bowler these days. The future looks good for Australia, doesn't it, with a couple of these kids coming in, her and Litchfield. They're significant cricketers.
And the scary thing is they've already been around for a long period of time. I do think the WBBL has enabled players to literally come in and have an immediate impact. And when you've got Georgia Vole sitting on the sidelines as well, who's come in and she's averaging 50, I think, in ODI cricket. She's made her mark straight away. She just has to wait her time until one of the oldies retire and she gets an opportunity to be regularly in the ODI playing 11. But, yeah, things are looking good for the future of the Australian women's side.
It was a great pitch, wasn't it? I mean, just about the ideal sort of 50-over pitch. The ball skidded on a bit. It was obviously easier to bat against pace. We kind of, I think we were quite shrewd in the way that we sat on their spinner, Shree Chirani. She's a very lovely bowler, but we kind of made sure that we saw her out and accelerated when we got the opportunity that pace on the ball offered. Did you think that just on the subject of the difference between 50 over and 20 over cricket? Because these are the two formats within which women compete. Does 50 over cricket favour us more than 20? Because it does give us the opportunity to show how deep we bat, how many bowling options we have, how athletic our fielding is. Whereas T20, there's always the possibility that someone or other on the opposition will get away from it, or we'll go a little bit slow at the top. Is this where Australia should be looking to dominate day in, day out?
Yeah, and they do dominate, hence why their record is pretty impressive. I think they only lost a handful of games from last 50 over to this one. One person actually said to me, and it's quite interesting, sometimes a commentator outside of the ones that watch the Australian team have a different perspective. They said in the 50 over side, the Australian team knows their role.
Sure.
Each player, because we've got so many all-rounders, but there's time for all of them to have an impact. Whereas in T20 cricket, sometimes an Annabel Sutherland batting at 6 and bowling 2 overs, we don't get to see the best of her. Yeah. And we've already seen what she can do in Test cricket, right, where she has even more time. So that was an interesting observation from one of my co-commentators. But I agree, the 50 over, you have more time. The skill set is shown a little bit more, and there's ups and downs in the 50 over. T20, one person can take it away from you, and they can just have a good day out, little bit of luck, and all of a sudden the game's gone.
Conditioning comes into play, particularly in a tournament in India. Across 50 overs. And I think we watched in the Pakistan game. I think Pakistan started to fall away at the end of the innings. Their fitness didn't hold up. India, on the other hand, they have really lifted those levels of fitness too. They're starting to rival Australia at that level, aren't they?
Yeah, and the Women's Premier League, which is the same as the men's IPL, has enabled them to understand the work ethic you've got international players coming in, and I'll give you an example because I'm with the UP Warriors. We'll be training, and off to the side, because we had Grace Harris, Talia McGrath, and Alana King, the last one, and the 3 Aussies in searing heat would be doing their run-throughs for their conditioning. Right. And then all of a sudden, a lot of the Indian players were like, oh, should I be doing that? And then they started to do it, which was great. Yeah. Whereas I don't know if they would have normally, because they tend to just do batting and bowling, their skill set. And I know from a state point of view, they're starting to ensure that the services or the staff around state setups are full-time. So an SNC now is within all state programs. So we're going to see over the next couple of years, and you'll hear a lot of the Australian women's side and actually global players say that India is a sleeping giant. And when they kind of tick all of those little boxes, who knows what's going to come at them because they've got so much talent.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that that catch to get rid of Beth Mooney last night was not the kind of catch that was Rodriguez, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wasn't the kind of catch that I would have expected Indian to get a couple of years ago. Terrific catch. Amazing.
Yeah. She's always in the hot spots, and she always brings energy. I don't know if you've ever watched her bat, but she hits the bat and pumps herself up, and always talking to herself, and she's full of energy and has the right attitude towards the game.
One of the younger Indian players who had an impact in that ODI series was Kranti Gowd, the young pacer, and she dismissed Alyssa Healy 3 times, I think, in that series. And Alyssa Healy apparently said afterwards that she'd been really struggling in the nets. She couldn't find her batting rhythm. She'd come off second in these head-to-heads recently, but all of a sudden the game was just completely different. Can you talk us through the dynamic of the rivalry between those two that's already emerged, in which Healy prevailed last night?
Yeah. Kranti Gowd, actually part of the UP Warriors, was found last year in this beginning of this year, the WPL, and since then has come on and burst onto the scene. Picked up a 6 against England. So young and raw, but just a natural talent. So it's great to see her really improve and challenge the Australian team. And I've kind of likened her. I've kind of said, is Kranti Gowd the answer for India after Julan Goswami? They've been searching for someone. She hasn't got the height, but she's got the pace, and no doubt she'll learn the skills. But she had Alyssa Healy's measure, and I think there was one game in that ODI series where Kranti, she's a very passionate person, and she has no ill will, and she was celebrated really loudly. And I think Alyssa kind of snapped back at her as Alyssa does. So her kind of almost picking a fight that isn't there. And the situation of a World Cup, an opportunity to put a lot of pressure on the home side, we often see Alyssa Healy kind of rise to the occasion. Her first 100 since the last World Cup, which was in the final.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that mindset of hers that allows her to it's almost like she saves herself for the big games, the big stage, doesn't it? I mean, the last big game she would have played was that one, and she comes to this one. It was quite a big crowd too. What is it about Heels and the way she plays? Is she a confident person? Does she back herself to do it?
She's certainly confident, but we've also got to remember that probably the last 2 years she's actually missed a hell of a lot of cricket through injury. So, whilst inherently what you need to do, just that ability to go out and play in the middle and get runs on the board and start to feel like, okay, everything's ticking along. I mean, she's had to play Australia A series in the build-up to ensure that she was right. She had to change her wicket-keeping technique to be able to not put too much pressure on her knee. So there's a few things late in her career that she's had to kind of adjust and kind of overcome. And I'm glad to see that, unlike Megan Shute and Ellyse Perry, she's not going down cramping, because she literally was out there for close to the entire 100 overs and did a wonderful job. But World Cups, India, and knowing that the team is up against it, because this World Cup isn't going to be easy, does have a tendency to bring the best out of her.
Where's Ellyse Perry at the moment, Lisa? I mean, for a long time, she was women's cricket front and back. She was absolutely everywhere you looked. Now there's sort of more competition for attention. There are more options within that team. The team is not dependent on her performances. She stepped up last night and she played a terrific innings. Just the ideal person to be coming in at that stage. How is she handling that idea of being sort of first among equals rather than one out on her own?
Oh, look. And I'm not in and around the team a lot, but from all reports, she's played an important role in enabling an Annabel Sutherland, a Georgia Wareham, a Sophie Molyneux, a Phoebe Litchfield to kind of come in and give them the support. She's a huge team player. She is always trying to ensure that everyone gets what they need, and she's passing on her experience. I still think there's still a lot left in this World Cup for Ellyse Perry to kind of show. Yes. From a bowling point of view, she's probably not at what she used to be like when she first came in. She's had a few injuries. She's battling now twice now. She's got cramp issues. So I think she actually said it was kind of surreal that she was warming up last night in the car park to see if she could run and get ready to play. So, things are slightly different, but everyone would still call her the GOAT of women's cricket.
Yeah, right.
I think there's that admiration and respect for what she can do. And to be fair, she's, she probably, 4 years ago, she kind of was left out of the T20 side, the Australian team.
Yeah. Yep.
And she's had to reinvent herself, and, she's played some pivotal roles in domestic T20 competitions so that you go, you still got to pick her, right? She's still warranting selection. So I think she's still got a bigger role to play in this World Cup. So don't discount her just yet.
What are the futures of? I mean, I think Alyssa's 35, and I think Ellyse is about to turn 35. Every time a player gets into that kind of zone, you begin to think, should I be watching carefully now? Are they just about to move on into their twilight? But I noticed Alyssa before this World Cup said specifically this would not be her last major tournament. Is she?
Did she say
having
that?
A land of this? Yeah, she did actually. Yeah, I looked it up the other day. I thought, maybe she's going to retire. But then I think I googled Alyssa Healy retirement, and there was something a few weeks ago saying no. I'm fine. I'm here for the long haul. I've missed a bit of cricket lately, and I've kind of got the appetite back.
Yeah, I think there's a speculation. I think she might have indicated that this World Cup would be her swan song, and I think she's walked that back at least.
Yeah.
I mean, a 50-over World Cup is every 4 years, so she's kicking 40. I know there's Prabodhini from Sri Lanka is 40 and Inoka Ranawira is 39.
Yes.
Susie Bates is a 38. But I can't imagine that Alyssa Healy will play another 50-over World Cup. I actually think it's a big chunk of players. This will be their last major 50-over tournament, which will be sad to kind of see them go because they've been the face of the global game for a long period of time. Ellyse Perry, I feel like she's going to be wheeled out in a wheelchair and still be playing, right? I think she genuinely loves it that much. Alyssa obviously has probably bigger things to do once she finishes hanging up, and it's all about finding the right time. And I think after this, there's WBBL, there's WPL, there's a series against India in February. So I'm sure she's still eyeing a few of those things off. And then maybe she'll make a decision on what the future looks like. But, players are getting – I mean, Megan Shute, she made her debut back in 2013 for the World Cup. I think she's kind of indicated maybe this might be it, but – a few players are saying you can still contribute in the T20 format. So it's hard. Things have changed, right? Because this is now your income. So what are you going to do afterwards? Because it's not like the female players are earning squillions of dollars that they can kind of retire. So they've got to think of what's next potentially for them.
Is there any discussion of women's players having to choose between international and franchise cricket? We certainly are doing that in the men's space, but has there been any talk in the women's area about that?
Not within the Australian team because they're so well paid, but it certainly is an issue in South Africa. So Shabnim Ismail hasn't been playing international cricket for a while and still plays T20 and very effective. She would have been amazing in this tournament. Lizelle Lee has kind of relocated to Tasmania. And now got her citizenship there, but she's kind of shown that she can still play cricket. Deandra Dotton retired and wanted to do the franchise. But one thing is for sure with the women's game, if you're not really seen on an international level, you kind of get passed over. Shabnim Ismail is probably one player that's kind of bucking that trend. But I think the female players are conscious of the fact that if they're not playing international, they may not get selected for T20 leagues.
Speaking of things that we can't see, I mean, I'm finding it a bit difficult to accept a Women's World Cup without the West Indies, who, they beat England in the T20 World Cup last year. They got through to the semis. They didn't make it. They didn't qualify. I think they were 0.01 run out, weren't they, behind Bangladesh? What does that mean for the West Indies? And has it detracted from the tournament at all? They've always been a team that's been considered to be there or thereabouts.
Yeah, and they played some really good cricket in the last 50-over World Cup. I think because of the transparency of, they didn't perform well in the International Women's Championship with the top 6 teams, so the 50-over tournament over 4 years, top 6 teams automatically qualified. Yes. They weren't there, so they went to the qualifying tournament. And I think they needed a 6 off the last ball to get the run rate up, and Stefanie Taylor hit a 4. And I think the girls celebrated, and you could see Hayley Matthews, I've seen the video, going, "No, guys, we needed a 6. We're out." And they were so despondent. And I felt bad for them, Hayley Matthews especially. But that's what it's like. And I guess we've seen it in the men's game from a test point of view, the men's test team at their heights that everyone wanted to be a West Indian cricketer. And the politics and all the different countries and infrastructure for them is probably lacking. And that has cost the West Indian women's side, unfortunately.
Has it cost the men's side too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just back briefly on this women's team. You've seen a few generations of these women's teams. You're probably not old enough to I'm old enough to remember Belinda Clark and that one. All very, very good teams. I'm
old enough to remember Rayleigh Thompson and Sharon Tredrayer.
That too. Yeah. But you look at this tournament, like the 100, Gardner gets the 100 in the first game, batting with Garth. Mooney, the 100, batting with King in the second game. Got Healy and Gardner last night. They're contributing everywhere, aren't they? They're a pretty good-looking team. They're as good as I've ever seen. Where do they rate with you? Yeah,
probably from a depth point of view, probably stronger than we've probably ever seen. And that's largely due to domestic T20 competitions and players like Soph Molyneux opening the batting for the Melbourne Renegades, but coming in at 8 or 9 for the Australian team, right? So they're very talented cricketers that, and there's a lot of players that haven't been selected in this Australian team that make a very good income travelling around the world being picked up in other teams. So we've been very fortunate that we've had so much depth. But it's always hard to compare, isn't it? Like the Sharon Tredrayer, like if you look at historically, if Australia was to go on and win this, it would be the first time since Sharon Tredrayer's team where they won back-to-back 50-over World Cup.
Interesting. Right.
So
good.
That's a 30-odd year gap.
Yeah.
So it shows you it's not easy to win World Cup.
Yes.
Regardless of your depth and how good you are, because sometimes tournament cricket can mess with people.
Hey, I was really interested to see a couple of women come home from the 100 and say it's their absolute favourite tournament. Now, there are people out there banging pots and pans and telling us that we have to do this and that to the BBLs to make them better. Is there a way that they can make beyond just paying them more money, make the WBBL a better prospect?
Yeah, so if Phoebe Litchfield and Annabel Sutherland were the two that came back and said it's their favourite tournament. And I think if you were to actually survey the players that play in all three, they would rank it like this. The 100, simply because of the crowd and the fact that you travel with the men's team. Because they're playing a game, the game before the men. And so Northern Superchargers, 2 buses go and they go to the same venue. So you've got that real club feel. And because England have smaller grounds, so 15, 20,000 you can pack out and it creates a great atmosphere. So they win on the atmosphere and the camaraderie. WPL probably wins because of the size and the payment that the players get and packed stadiums like of 45, 50,000 that come in to watch. And then WBBL wins for the competitiveness because the quality of players is far superior than the 100 and WPL. So for those in charge, if you can kind of bottle a couple of those things up, but I always feel that the WBBL has been slightly disadvantaged because they play out of the school holiday period and they play midweek games, and only a couple of years ago they'd play a 10 a.m. game on a Wednesday. Like, who's coming to that game and who's watching the game? So I think from all reports there's discussions about, can we move the WBBL a little bit closer so they get a bit of that holiday period? So I think our competition is the strongest, but there are areas and in the other two competitions they play on the big stadiums, the big venues, the test venues, and it gets packed out, whereas we're still playing at Junction or North Sydney's great, but how many games are we playing at the SCG? So
just back to the Australian team, Lisa, one of the components that I think we discuss least is the coach. Shelley Nitschke has been the coach for 3 years. I reckon a lot of people wouldn't be able to name the Australian women's coach. They knew it was Matthew Mott for a while, but then they sort of lost track of it. Now, it's a real challenge to a coach to take a very, very good team already and find areas in which it can improve. Can you tell us a little bit about what Nitschke has brought to the job, how she's tried to guide this team to greater heights? Perhaps, I mean, she's a contemporary of yours as a player, isn't she? So does she coach the way that she played? Does she coach like a former player, or has she sort of completely left that playing aspect of her career behind?
Yeah, I think any former player going into a coaching role, you'll always take probably the learnings that you had as a player and try to, and if you've been successful or unsuccessful, try to go the opposite, right? So you try and use those experiences to your advantage. She held roles within South Australian cricket as a development officer. She did a lot of underage stuff. She worked in the men's setup as well. So she's actually had a long career as a coach. And then sat under Matthew Mott for a number of years. And I think when Matthew left, he said, Shell, this is your team now. She goes, I don't know if I can do it.
Interesting. Right.
And probably took a little bit of convincing to do it. But the reason that you don't know much about her is because she likes to fly under the radar. She doesn't like to do interviews very much. She's quite happy to be in the background, and she's got a wonderful group of support staff. Dan Marsh has played an integral part with the Australian women's side, and people speak very fondly about him. So she's got a good setup, and when you're in that kind of role and you've got, I don't know if you saw the anthems of all the support staff as they're singing the anthem, it's a bloody long line. Unless I was around.
Right.
It's literally one for one player-wise. But it's all about managing all of those people and then the players, and I think she was very calm player, very composed, and I can see that trait in her as a coach.
Well, another subject. Lisa, you mentioned before that you've got a tour group coming over. That's the Around the Wickets.
Yes.
Tell us about that. What's going on? Can we still sign up? Get on board?
No, you can't sign up. No, too late. You missed the boat.
Too
Bad
late?
luck. Yeah.
Okay.
Look, how it came about was in 2005, I played my first World Cup in South Africa, and there was a group of family and friends or lovers of the game that came out, and there was probably about maybe 5, maybe more, maybe 8 people came, and it was kind of cool just to see them. And I think there's a photo on my Instagram of Rena with the shirt, and I've noticed obviously that the game has gone like this, right? And I think more and more people are following and supporting the women's game. And yet we see tour groups or whatever around the men's game, but there's nothing there for the women. And I thought, and then the other aspect for me is I love India. Like it really is a second home for me. And there's so much that I want people in Australia to go and experience. And if you're a lover of a game of cricket, then you've got one thing you have to have on your bucket list, and you guys would attest to this. You've got to watch a game in India. Like it's just a different experience to what we experience back home. So yeah, Rena Hoare and myself have kind of tried to get this together, and we've got a small group of 10 people heading over for the back end of the tournament to cheer on the Aussies. But the main thing is they'll go see the Taj Mahal. They'll go to Jaipur for 3 days, which is one of my favourite from an art.
Great trip.
Yeah. So it's not just following cricket. It's like the cultural aspect. It's more the cultural aspect thrown in with a little bit of masala of cricket.
Okay. Right. So what's next for Australia? We play Bangladesh next up. Is there any reason to not write that down as a win already?
Well, Bangladesh pushed England, and Heather Knight, if Heather Knight hadn't scored the runs that she did, I think she was given out. She actually was walking off, and then they preferred the catch, and she was given a reprieve, and out she came and sealed the deal. But what we've seen lately is there's something in the pitch for the bowlers, and when you're playing in the subcontinent teams tend to have great spinners. They also tend to suck the life out of the ball, which Western countries are used to hard, fast wickets where they can plant their foot and hit through the line of the ball. Here you've got to be quite meticulous in your approach. And that's why we even saw Alyssa Healy get out of the blocks quickly and then almost go run a ball in that middle phase, not try to go hell for leather, because I don't think you can. So it's going to take some smart cricket to be able to figure that out. So it's not an easy victory, I don't think, but it should be one that they should be picking up 2 points. But they'll be challenged at some stage throughout the match.
They thought they would have put Pakistan game in their pocket, but they nearly tripped up in that one, didn't they?
That's true.
7 for 7.
Yeah, 7 for what? 73, and then
7 for 73. Yeah,
I think they just like to make it interesting. They just like to see let's see how we do this.
You know what?
Escape room.
I did a call with the TMS. They were a lot of issues with visas at the moment for a lot of the commentary teams. So they were a commentator short, so I helped them out. And one thing was the TMS side, they said, we literally boarded the flight at 7 for 73 and then we land and it's like 220 and they're like, this sucks.
Not that they hate Australian cricket or anything, Lisa. No, just because they're English,
So what's your take on England at the moment? We're playing them in Indore, a favourite city of ours, Pete, in 10 days' time.
Tidy town.
Take me back to old Indore.
I think it's going to be I think it's going to be a good clash, similar to India. I had a lot of question marks around the England side. If Heather Knight and Nat Sciver-Brunt don't score runs, they may be in trouble. And I'm still probably going to stick to that theory. The good thing for England is Nat Sciver-Brunt scored 100 last game.
100 too.
It was a good 100. She got dropped on 3 at mid-wicket, so she got a life. So they're making full advantage of the lives that they're getting. And Heather Knight obviously looked good. So, I think and there's something about Australia and England clashes, right? It's like Australia-India now. It's the big three. There's a lot on the line. There's no love lost between either of the countries when they cross the boundary rope, and we're going to see some high-quality cricket again.
It's always an interesting transition, isn't it, when a former player or former captain is playing under a new captain? How do you think that's worked out for England after the debacle of last summer in Australia?
Yeah, massive changes. Obviously, Charlotte Edwards coming in as head coach, Heather Knight stepping down or having to resign, and Nat Sever-Brunt taking it. One thing I will say, knowing Heather really well, is she's the ultimate professional. So she would have taken it in her stride. Whatever her personal opinions are of the matter, I think she would put that to one side, because the most important thing is to get the England team up to what it used to be like. And no doubt Charlotte has probably enabled those conversations potentially to happen, or get things off your chest. And this is where we need to go. As a group, I think she's done that. The TMS crew, who obviously watch the England women's side a hell of a lot more than I do, said prior to Charlotte they wouldn't have seen players running fitness after the game, the players that sat out. Right. So that was evident in the last game. And I sense an attitude change around the England setup, that they should be very fortunate and proud to be in the England setup, and maybe don't take that for granted. That seems to be a little bit more evident. So they've got the skill. I think a few things just went awry in the last few years, and they're trying to rectify it. But can they rectify it in time to get them into a World Cup final? I guess time will tell.
Now, Lisa, you're sitting on what's obviously a very comfortable chair there, and we were wondering whether that was the new Women's World Cricket Association throne. You have just been reappointed as president of the WCA. Tell us a little bit about that position and what that entails, and whether the chairs are as good as they look.
Look, it's a very Sri Lankan-like headboard, but it is a comfy chair. It's not in my contract that I have to have a specific chair, so don't worry about that. But yeah, my role, I guess, is helping and assisting and facilitating the World Cricketers Association. I also act as the voice of the female players, or the WCA team on the ICC Women's Committee. But it's interesting times for the game. Obviously, WCA put together that global report of scheduling that Paul Marsh did, which has challenged and questioned and probably given some answers, instead of being highly critical about what the current situation is. I think we all want to see the game prosper. How can we do that, and what are the best ways forward? So we're chipping away and trying to keep doing some good things. Obviously, ensuring that the players are well looked after in terms of contracts, remuneration, but also more about the environment that is changing. It's once upon a time you just played for your state and country, whereas now with all these domestic leagues, we're seeing a lot of players jump around, and how can we service them to ensure we look after holistically the player, not just the cricketer.
Now, interesting change of personnel at the WCA. Sanjog Gupta has stepped off the board to become the BCCI chief executive. Interesting that, and he was very heavily involved in the report that you put together. He's now, I guess, in the position of having to respond to that report or analyse his own conclusions. How's that working out for Sanjog?
I'm not quite sure.
I'm sure you're in close touch.
So he was actually on our. Am I back?
Yes, you are. Yeah.
You never went anywhere.
I thought I had paused. Yeah. He was actually on our commercial committee.
Commercial advisory board.
Yeah, so and obviously was involved in that project that we did for the global scheduling. Now as the ICC CEO, obviously there's a conflict of interest and he can't be on both positions. So I actually don't deal with Sanjog. I think Tom Moffat and Heath Mills, more in an official capacity, deal with him. But from my understanding is ICC have created their own committee to look at the scheduling, and hopefully we'll see some outcomes from that committee.
So just run through what the WCA recommendations were around the franchise cricket and how to fix it.
Right, off the top of my head,
Windows.
Yes,
Windows.
Is Windows, but not Windows for domestic leagues, which I think everyone was originally trying to do. So 4 international windows of 21 days. Now, obviously, those 21 days are locked and loaded. If you want to play domestic competitions in between that's fine, but countries are allowed to have access to their players during that time. And then it's to free market. So there was that. And then also to have a bit more context around bilateral series so that countries don't just play each other because there's a gap in the calendar, and it'll be great from a broadcast rights. Like fans want they want to see a contest and it means something. Hence why the men's 50 over World Cup, still attracted so much audience and discussion because there's jeopardy involved in that. But a bilateral series sometimes gets lost, especially in white ball cricket. Maybe not so much, obviously, in the test arena. There was discussions as well about trying to even out the playing field. So we've obviously got this huge discrepancy from a financial point of view. Some boards are really wealthy, some boards are not. And how can we expect those that don't have the money to be able to put into infrastructure programs to ensure that their teams can compete at an international and competitive level? So how could that be evened out appropriately to ensure that we want the game to grow globally? So everyone needs to kind of be on an even playing field. They're the top 3 that come to mind. There's probably a few more.
You're a players' union. You don't just exist, I assume, of people paying their union dues. You found a new revenue stream that seems like a significant one through the intellectual property rights of players.
Yeah. So we've got close to 600 international players that have signed into the WCA GPR, which is their image rights for global tournaments. So not bilateral cricket. So not when Australia's playing India or Zimbabwe or whatever. It's only for ICC events or multinational competition. So even for the Olympics. Would probably that falls under that. And we've done a deal with Winners Alliance, which is all about just trying to unlock potential earnings around that. Like instead of a company coming to 15 different individual players and dealing with 15 of their managers to try and get a deal, they can come to the one place and be able to do that. But it's about protecting the players because what's happened in the past, unfortunately, at ICC events, players' image rights were just handed over and they'd have to do ads and campaigns, and they never got to see anything from that deal. When really it's their face on that ad campaign that probably sells a fair bit of it, so they should be rewarded for that.
I noticed that there's a lot of expertise on that commercial advisory board. You've just appointed Judith Griggs, who I can remember as an Australian Businesswoman of the Year, and she runs sports rights management. Tons of experience in Formula One. That's a really, really prestigious pickup. And also that delightful man, Vishal Mishra, at the San Francisco Unicorns, who probably best known to fame as the founder of Cricinfo, but an absolute cricket disciple. I met him at World Cricket Connects this year. Delightful man. So you've got all the right people. It is interesting in this day and age, Lisa, to see an actual skills-based board anywhere in the cricket governance space. Not something that we're really used to.
Yeah, to be fair, and even our governance model is member-based as well.
It can still work.
It can still work, and I think we're starting to see a lot of, and it's changed dramatically. So WCA now has subcommittees, so obviously the commercial subcommittee, and you can appoint the people that really matter, that their expertise is in that area. They may not know much about the game of cricket, but we now know cricket is not just a hobby and a passion.
Yeah.
It's a multi-billion-dollar business, and everyone playing within it needs to access different skill sets to enable the corporation or the organisation to run smoothly and be sustainable in the future. So you can't just have past players running it. You can't just have cricket-centric people as well.
Still a place for past players, Lisa, particularly those as eminent as yourself.
And just to bring it back to you, Lisa.
I've learned a lot on the
You're not just a past player, Lisa. We know that.
No, and that kind of leads to my next inquiry, which is quite broad. Post-cricket, you've chosen an interesting route to sort of keep your head above water, Lisa. What does your life look like at the moment? What do how do you survive?
Yeah.
A little bit of coaching, a little bit of commentary, a little bit of tour groups.
Yeah, commentary would definitely be, I guess, my full-time, or that's where I get predominantly all of my income. Board positions were voluntary for a long period of time. Now we're getting, I guess, honorariums a little bit, but it's nothing to break the bank balance for. It's just to acknowledge the time and commitment that you put on those boards. And, the business idea is just I saw a gap in the market, and I just wanted to show people how much India is an amazing country to travel. And if you're a little bit scared to do it by yourself, come with us. But, yeah, commentary would be my main source of income. I am doing a little bit of coaching, obviously, with the UP Warriors, but then Cricket New South Wales has got me back involved with the New South Wales Breakers side when I'm available. So it's kind of nice to kind of rock up. The typical past player, stand at the back of the nets, go, good shot, yeah, well bowled.
Yeah. So what of our current players at my club do that? They just stand at the back of the nets and just fold their arms and say, well bowled.
Yeah.
So you recently got a little gig there with Test Match Special. You've got Channel 7 coming up. You're doing the BBL
Channel 7,
for them.
Yeah. So WBBL, a little bit of Big Bash, The Spin, which is kind of my little baby, where it's like a cricket show that just talks about topics, and because obviously in a game of cricket and there's not a lot of time to discuss issues in the game. So this is kind of my way of educating the viewers a little bit more.
Well, Lisa, we'd be very happy to come on.
You want to come on?
Cricket et al. Yeah. And you got to have a show.
Maybe we can, when there's a really meaty discussion where we need your expertise, we can bring you guys on.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, when it's,
we're very expensive. Almost as expensive as you are.
Is it a precarious life living sort of from gig to gig like that?
Yeah.
What commentary gigs did you do this year?
So I would have done the Channel 7 stuff. Then I went to WPL. Then I head over to India and I do stuff with Crick Buzz for the IPL. Then I did PSL in Pakistan, and then I did MLC in the US. So I tend to normally finish all my commentary. I kind of start mid-September stuff, and then normally finish now with the MLC mid-July. And then I have August, September, mainly August, September as a time just to be at home and chill out. But the first half of the year is where I do a fair bit of travel, which is obviously into the subcontinent and US this year. So fair bit of miles covered.
What are your near-term plans, Lisa? What's next on your agenda?
I head home from Colombo for 10 days and I head back over for ICC meetings at the back end of the Women's World Cup. Come back, I think, 7 days after the final is played, WBBL starts, so I'll be doing that. Covering a couple of Ashes with the SEN crew, so on radio. And sorry, Pete. I think I took your spot. Sorry, mate. I really would have loved you.
Careful on social media, Lisa.
Yeah. And then what's that? And then we get to December and January is WPL. And unfortunately, from an Australian point of view, it takes me out of Big Bash stuff.
Mm-hmm. So a tip for the Women's World Cup, Lisa? Is there any reason?
Sunscreen and make sure you have plenty of water when you're watching.
What could possibly go wrong for Australia? What could stand in the way of what seems like an almost certain Australian triumph?
Looking at where the final is going to be played, it's DY Patel, but also one semi-final may be played in Guwahati or Colombo. Colombo, if Pakistan make it. At this stage, it doesn't look like they will, so let's go with Guwahati. Guwahati is a real slow turner, like hard to score runs, and then DY Patel in Navi Mumbai is an absolute road, and good luck to the bowlers. So really stark surfaces, and what we've already seen, there's been a common theme so far in the tournament. Top order has predominantly failed, and teams, I think the average opening partnership, apart from last night's game, was like 20-something.
Yeah, right.
And it was the middle to latter order that was able to score runs. So I think teams just have to take their time and play what they see in front of them. So the only thing that could falter for the Australian team is someone has a huge day out, like a Harmanpreet Kaur in the 2017 semi-final, where she scored 171 or something like that, something ridiculous. Or if they play at a Guwahati semi-final and it's a dust bowl and it turns so much and it's they want to play a certain brand of cricket, and that pitch doesn't necessarily warrant that.
Mm-hmm. Great tips. Lisa, once again, you're pure ruddy gold. Always great to have you on Cricket et al. We're very grateful for your assistance. Thank you very much for conveying your enthusiasm about what's been a fantastic tournament so far, and still plenty to come. I mean, we're really only halfway through and there's still so much to play for. But Lisa, thank you very much from both of us. And in the meantime, it's goodbye from me.
And it's good night from him.